Hi, I'm Kristen. Disrupting traditional management consulting through the power of AI technology is not just a movement, it's the heart of our mission. Here at Culturify, we're empowering leaders and employees to take action. But more importantly, we're dedicated to creating work-life cultures that are world-changing. I'm so excited that you decided to join us to be part of this roundtable discussion as we explore fused intelligence, where human expertise meets the power of AI. Welcome, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. And we are kicking off a brand new series called Fused Intelligence, where together we'll be diving deep into the fusion of AI and human expertise to unlock your team's potential, drive brand performance, and foster a future-ready workforce, work-life culture, and workforce that sets your organization apart. So if you've joined us for a while, you know that we are here every Thursday at 11 a.m., and we will continue to be here every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern. However, we're switching up the format a tiny bit, alternating between panelist discussions with subject matter experts like today and deep dive sessions that we are calling Q&AI, where you can unpack your specific challenges, questions, and explore AI solutions with members of our team. So if after today's conversation, you have some more specific questions like, okay, but what about this specific situation? What can this work? How would you navigate this situation in my organization? Make sure you register for our very first Q&AI session that will be next week at 11 a.m. Eastern. But before I jump too far ahead, I'd like to welcome our panelists for today who are helping us unpack fused intelligence. So what actually is it? Why does it matter? And how can we leverage it in our organization to bring our people and our culture to the next level? So first up, I'd like to welcome back Dr. Alvin Miles, who is an international speaker, author, and executive coach at Miles Management International. Dr. Miles, thank you so much for coming back and joining us today. Would you care to say a few words as introduction?
Well, thank you, Kristen. And so at Miles Management International, as you pointed out, what we strive to do is identify, cultivate, and leverage the talent in your organization so they're not the best kept secret anymore. There's lots of talent in your organizations that are probably hidden in plain sight, and our job is to help you to identify those and bring them to the forefront and leverage them to make a stronger organization, stronger culture, etc. So thank you again for inviting me over.
Absolutely. I love that, finding those needle in the haystacks that you can just leverage to enhance your culture and empower your people. I'm excited to dive in more and hear from you on today's topic. We also have Lucinda Smith, a former global CHRO and senior culture advisor here at Culturify. Welcome, Lucinda. Thank you again for joining us today. Would you care to just say a few words as introduction?
Yeah, thanks, Kristen. It's great to be here again today, and I'm excited to join Dr. Miles in today's roundtable. I'm really excited about our new series. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and it's a great new format. So I hope that our viewers will enjoy it as well. Again, I'm really happy to be here today. We can never talk enough about AI. It's on top of mind for everybody. I think I've mentioned to you all before that I do a lot of work with SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management, and our executive network CHRO members. And I can tell you that this is one of their big priorities across all organizations of all sizes, industries, sectors. So it's just a super exciting topic. It's gotten so much traction. And I'm really thrilled to hear about the Q&AI because there are so many questions out there, and it'll give our audiences an opportunity to really learn more about what's happening specifically around AI and marketing and human resources, and how Culturify can help solve their problems and find solutions for what they're looking for their AI priorities this year and in the future. So thank you.
Absolutely. And Lucinda, that's a great reminder too. While our Q&AI session will allow you to really interact with our team and share the nuances of your specific circumstances, we still want this to be interactive today. I have a ton of questions for Lucinda and Dr. Miles, but I know you don't want to just hear from me asking questions. So please make sure you utilize the chat. Let us know what's working in your organization. Drop your anonymous questions in our Q&A. It should be located right at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Just go ahead and click that, pop it out, and then go ahead and drop your questions, and I'll be sure to pull those in throughout our conversation. So thank you, everyone, for being here today and joining us. And today we're going to start by talking really about how to leverage fused intelligence to unlock potential, boost creativity, and really refine decision making. So that's pretty lofty. So I want to just really define what we talk about what we mean when we talk about fused intelligence. So at Culturefy, fused intelligence is the blending of, or the fusion of, human expertise with the power of AI to cultivate a thriving culture and propel brand performance through people performance. So in other words, AI can be and should be so much more than just a tool for automation and analysis. Leveraging fused intelligence is really tapping into the ability of AI to be a strategic partner, bringing your people and your organization to brand new heights. But, that's a pretty lofty definition, and there's certainly no shortage of questions and concerns and uncertainty when it comes to AI. So why don't we start our conversation just kind of addressing some of those common AI misconceptions, of which I know there are plenty. So Dr. Miles, I might kick it off to you, but in your experience, what are some of the common misconceptions about integrating AI and human expertise, and how do we address some of those?
Thank you, Kristen. So there's a couple of them that I hear regularly, which is, number one, AI does not require humans. That's one that pops up. So my youngest daughter, is a pathologist assistant. So when I was doing some reading and some research, I ran across an example that I thought might be interesting, especially around here. So she's obviously in the field of medicine, and that combines, the combined efforts of scientists and machines when you bring those two together. So this particular reading that I looked at had a team of pathologists at Harvard, and they developed a method to detect breast cancer cells. So it was the machines were able to accurately identify cancer cells about 92% of the time. And so on their own, the pathologist readings themselves were 96% accurate. So you got machines at 92, you got the pathologists at 96, and so the bigger breakthrough was when you combine both. And when you combine both, the result was 99.5% accuracy. So clearly, the collaborative work of both those machines as well as the humans has led to significant reduction in error. So so AI, the fact that people think that AI does not require humans is, in my opinion, a myth. And of course, the facts bear that out. So Lucinda, I'll pass it over to you. But the other one, of course, is the fact that AI will not take our jobs.
Yep, that's right. That's what I was just about to say. So you read my mind. And that's true. I mean, I think that there is a lot of fear out there about AI because there's still a lot maybe unknown or that people are unfamiliar with. And yeah, there's a lot of talk out there about, oh my gosh, AI is going to take our jobs away. But I think what's really going to happen is AI will change the nature of some jobs, while it's going to create new opportunities for people to focus more on more meaningful and creative tasks. So, and I hear this in organizations, I read about this, that with this change that's underway, we've got an opportunity to rethink how we work and how we leverage these new AI tools in our work streams. So as an example, AI that can write kind of a boilerplate code or summarize spreadsheet data gives people the freedom to use their time more strategically so that they can solve bigger problems and invent new things or do new things or do more meaningful things. So really what we're going to see is AI is going to up-level, meaning giving us greater capabilities, going to up-level us as humans and take care of a lot of those tedious tasks that maybe we didn't even like in the first place. So for us as, humans in this whole equation, we're then kind of faced with a question about, okay, so if we don't have to do these things that we don't really like to do anyway, then what are we going to spend our time doing? And it's not just us as individuals, but it's in corporations, it's in governments. So we're really going to be rewriting, a lot of the ways that we work, and in some ways, how we interact together too.
Yeah, I love that at Cultify we say something similar, that AI is not about taking your job, but taking your job to the next level. And sometimes it's just as simple as having those conversations in organizations and giving people, empowering people to utilize AI. Especially some of the younger generation, they're likely utilizing it in certain ways already, but to come alongside and say, we want you to use it. Here's how you can use it, and let me help educate you on what that looks like in your role, in your position, to do everything that you both are saying, I think is really, really powerful.
Yeah. And Kristen, I was doing, again, some more research here. And so I ran across this World Economic Forum report. It said there's going to be about 97 million new job openings as a result of this whole shift to AI. And that was in 2020. Here we are in 2024. So these, as Lucinda said, these complex, task-focused, competitively paid roles are what we want our talent to be focused on. The mundane stuff, we leave that to the machines, and we can get better as we move forward. And that's really what the millennials want, and what the new people coming into the workforce want. They want to be utilized for much more than just, the mundane stuff. They really want to have a wider choice of interesting professions, something they can sink their teeth into and something they can add value in. And that's really what AI is going to be able to help us to do, and it's already helping us to do.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk a lot about that fusion between brand and culture. And I think this plays so much into it, right? Because to attract and retain top talent, you really want to showcase that you are developing them for the future, that you believe in the power of them to invest for the long term. There's talk of people jumping jobs so quickly these days. But I think when you can really show to your team that, we want to invest in you, we believe in what you're capable of, and you take that, you make sure that what you're promising in your employer branding is actually lived out day to day. And this can be a huge way that can take place. Wouldn't you agree?
And that's for me, absolutely. No question about it. Because that whole mission statement and vision statement equates down to a value proposition that folks are buying when it comes to talent wanting to work in an organization. And when you combine all of that, that's really where you build a culture of authenticity and people knowing they can bring their best selves to the office and to the work. And then that office obviously is more virtual these days than it has been in the past. But being able to free you up for the opportunity to think ahead and think strategically is sometimes missed in, all the mist of having to go through and do the tedious, mundane stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you have to go through the tedious and mundane things to be able to get the data. But when you have a tool like AI, why not use that tool to crunch the data for you, bring it together and offer you some insights? And you take that and leverage it with your understanding of the organization stuff and your background and your experience, to catapult the result into something much more rich and deep than it could have been without using something to really kind of keep your brain cells from focused on the mundane stuff.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I totally agree. One thing I wanted to add in too is, I think one myth or misconception is that some folks think AI is only for people who work in tech, but it's been with us for a very long time, and we utilize it every day. Maybe in some ways unknowingly, but it's really, it's part of our everyday lives. If we use a search engine, if we click on product recommendations while we're shopping online, if we're writing an email or a text with the predictive text, we're all using AI. So we're using it every day, but the capabilities are expanding more and more all of the time. So I think that's just, I think, very exciting, a very exciting proposition for everybody, because it's not just the world of work that it's going to make easier, but just how we interact, especially, online, and the information that we have access to.
Great point.
Well, you both mentioned some examples as we were talking about some of the misconceptions. Can you talk a little bit about some more, ways that you are seeing how organizations or industries or even individuals are starting to really leverage AI to empower their employees? And I think you guys mentioned some of it, but I'd love to go a little bit deeper if there's some examples that you can highlight.
Lucinda?
Yes, well, there are tons of examples. So, gosh, I'm trying to think of where I want to start here. I think I want to though start with just mentioning, the pandemic, which hit us just a little over 4 years ago. I think it changed a lot of things, and it made clear that the way we used to work doesn't really work anymore. I just heard something today on a financial program about the 4-day work week, which is being, all the ways we work have changed, and so much of it was accelerated by the pandemic. So that, I think, though, has brought on more opportunities for companies to innovate, and AI is just happening with this at the same time. So, I think it's really clear that there's a lot of change. I'll give a couple of examples, but what I want to mention too is that what we put into place here has to be people-centric. We've got to put people at the center of what we do, and our technologies need to be designed around a people-centric approach. So hopefully some of these examples I'll give will align with that. I think it does. But that's super important. I think, and the other thing to keep in mind is the role of managers in an organization has shifted. And HR, since that's kind of where I'm coming from, is an architect for how solutions will be supported and processes will be supported. But the managers, are really in the middle of all of this. I think now our leaders and our managers have a much greater expectation to be empowered and be leaders when we talk about AI empowerment. I mean, I think, though, we've got to start with the people doing this. They're the ones who, are more empowered these days. They're the champions of a culture in an organization, and they're driving skills and growth and development. So again, we got to remember that's at the core of this, and AI is just a tool. But I think gone are the days where, and Dr. Miles, you talked about millennials and people coming into the workforce, and the expectations have changed so much. And gone are the days from when I was, starting out in HR, where they say, here's a training course, go to this, do this. Now, and I think this is a broader example, these trainings, this employee development, career maps can all be tailored more to the individual. Before we were all doing things kind of en masse, and now you can get down to some really interesting, details in terms of how training needs to be approached for one individual, for their growth and development. And this is really all, possible with AI. One of the other things too is, and with development mentoring. I've been involved in mentoring programs over the years, and when you do it the old-fashioned way and you go through a matching process, it can take weeks for you to kick off these kinds of programs. Now, using AI, you can match high potentials with mentors in virtually minutes. They can even pick their own mentors. So I think it puts our employees in the driver's seat. They don't have to wait for something to happen, for HR to do something or their manager to do something. All of this information, I mean, it's just reality. It can be at their fingertips now and really accelerate a lot of these things that, in the past we were waiting a long, long time to just, for a program to get started, or for, going to a training or things like that. So just in general terms, those are a lot of things that I see, but I will have some specifics as we go on to share. But I want to kick it over to you, Dr. Miles, because I'll bet you've got some too.
Anybody that knows me knows I love sports. And so when it comes to, I wrote my dissertation on sports when it came to looking at leaders and leadership. And one of the things that comes to mind in the use of AI is something that was in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, was a movie called Moneyball. I don't know if y'all remember that. But this Moneyball was all about using statistical analysis and data modeling to identify players who were undervalued so it would give the organization, a la the sports team, an advantage. And the augmentation of using that data along with the intuition and all the other stuff that had been previously used, now we're not discounting it, but it was previously used, allowed the Oakland Athletics in 2002 to have a breakthrough and unexpected success. This data-driven decision-making and the impact it can have on organizations is profound because, again, this was more of a touchy-feely kind of situation where, scouts would send people out and look at a variety of teams to look at players to try to find the diamonds in the rough and try to draft them as low as possible so you don't have to pay them as much. And so, when you hear these themes in sports, it relates a lot to what happens in organizations around us. So, again, from a competitive edge perspective, we utilize, obviously, AI in the ways that Lucinda mentioned. In addition, from a perspective of what we do at home, you utilize Alexa, and she makes your life easier. And that's, AI is a piece of that too. That's a machine that is actually trying to get better and learn more based on your preferences and the way you do things. And so this whole notion that what's happening with AI is something that we don't always want to happen. Well, that may not always be the case. And it is empowering us to make better decisions and to be able to come away with more of value back to the organization. And if you're a stockholder in a public organization, that's probably what you want.
Absolutely. And I think you both mentioned just how AI is integrated in our daily lives in such a way that, sometimes I'm surprised when I find out that there is AI technology behind a tool that I use day to day, whether it's, spell check, predictive text, or Alexa, or other similar programs and tools that are just common in day to day. But I'd love to kind of, ask you, you mentioned a lot about how AI is automating things, but as we're looking to the future, how is it evolving even beyond a tool for task automation to really be that partner in? I think, Lucinda, you mentioned that, fostering personal growth and productivity and just putting our people more in the driver's seat and really also empowering our managers, right? Because they're able to support in new ways by leaning on the tools and the technology that is AI to help personalize development programs and learning opportunities in their teams.
Well, I will just echo what was said earlier in terms of the personalized learning that Lucinda mentioned. And I've been a part of it on both sides. I've been a recipient of the learning when it wasn't personalized and everybody had to go through this lockstep learning. And I've been a recipient of the personalized learning when it was, when they analyzed my learning style, they did assessments, they did, my preferences, and they looked at my goals, and then they crunched it all together and gave me a tailored learning experience. And I can tell you, it was so much more conducive to my ability and the way I like to learn. And so, AI, of course, helps individuals to do that as well. And then it also helps them to get new skills and new knowledge more effectively. And that, of course, leads to personal growth and increased productivity from an individual perspective. And that individual, of course, benefits the organization. The other thing I think is the augmented decision-making that we alluded to earlier when it came to, the Moneyball example. Being able to give the trends, or understand the trends, identify those trends and patterns that humans may overlook is really, really a tool to really be able to help people and organizations and to make better decisions. sales forecasting, risk management, even in the weather forecasting, you name it, the augmented decision making really helps to get a better idea and a better focus and better decision on exactly what can happen. Even though we know that, when it comes to predicting the weather, it's probably still only 80% correct. and from my perspective, the other piece of it is the proactive support. So AI can help you to anticipate the needs and offer some timely assistance by identifying potential challenges, looking at the fostering the personal growth and productivity. These virtual assistants that AI has now put in place and our chat bots, reminding people of deadlines, suggesting ways to improve their work habits, providing tips for better time management. All these things allow us to get better using AI. Lucinda, I'm certain I missed some things.
No, I just saw a recent example just about that where there's one of the largest retailers that we know of in the United States has something just like that. It's called My Assistant, and it's for employees to go to because, in HR, we've spent a lot of time trying to answer people's questions. It takes, you've got call centers, you've got all of these things, and these assistants, this particular one is called My Assistant. It's backed by generative AI. It uses the technology to quickly answer these kinds of questions. But this is in the workplace. This just isn't just a chatbot kind of thing. But it's meant to boost productivity, and it does. And like we said, what AI is going to do, it eliminates mundane work so employees can do other more important things. One of the other things I want to mention too is KPIs. So a lot of us do our annual goal setting. We have KPIs. Companies, especially public companies, have corporate KPIs that they focus on, and they share those with their shareholders. There's a new report that came out from MIT, and it's focused on finance though, but it's looking at case studies and surveys on how AI-based machine learning and predictive analytics are changing KPIs. And they're even presenting the idea that they're superpowering these KPIs. So, when you've got large organizations, they're investing a lot of money in building data capabilities, technology capabilities, algorithms and measurement capabilities, and they can direct this into improving their current KPIs, but also redefining them using AI. So they looked at 3,000 respondents in 25 industries and 100 companies. And only though right now, 34% of those are using AI to reevaluate KPIs, but out of those 34%, 90% reported improvements. So that then translates into financial benefits for organizations. And it really streamlines these processes and makes them so much more effective in organizations. So that, I think, is just a win for everybody. The other part of this is that these AI-enabled KPIs really impact alignment so that teams are more likely to agree on the KPIs to prioritize. They're interlinked across a company, and they can be optimized together rather than in silos. That's something we're going to be talking about in a couple of weeks here. But so I don't want to jump ahead, Kristen, but it's part of this really good study. But it interlinks these, it optimizes them, and then it allows employees in an organization to better share information when it's needed. So it's increasing accountability and it's increasing alignment. So who doesn't want to do that, right? But it's a great tool. And these kinds of things are really easy to use. Fortunately, there are a lot of us out there, trusted partners who can help organizations and larger kind of educational institutions are involved too, to help make these things a lot more streamlined and a lot easier.
Yeah, I think you both really hit on it. This idea that AI is now a tool that can help with the strategy, right? So from KPIs to analyzing your goals and saying, okay, well, what is that first step that can be taken to get there? And that can happen both at the leadership level, but it can also happen all the way down to the department, to the team member level of looking at what my goals are, and then what is the best next step to take action towards that goal, that really just aligns the team. You know, I've been in organizations before where I had no idea what my goals, how they trickled up to the big organizational goal. And this just takes the guesswork completely out of it, right? And it just helps me at the individual level, my department leader, all the way up to the C-suite, to really say, okay, where are we moving the needle? What can we do at each level to better move the needle and improve those results and improve overall performance, which I think is really, really powerful.
Yeah, and when you combine, some of the experience that ladies like Lucinda have, that vast experience makes a big difference because you're asking the right questions. But the thing that gets you to better decisions, obviously, is asking the right questions. And what I love doing is asking three particular questions, and when you combine that with AI, it becomes even more impactful. One question is, what is it that we either like? What do we do best? Do we start things best? Do we change things best? Or do we stop doing things best? And when you ask that from an organizational perspective, and then you input AI, it can obviously give you some really good insights on not only what you've done in the past, and certainly when it comes to KPIs, how well you've done them, but where you should be focusing next and how you should build your teams and make certain that those teams are focused on it. Because even though you've got talent all in your organization, there's certain people on those teams that need developmental opportunities. You can bring them into that and help them understand that, when it comes to stopping doing something in your organization, this person needs to understand that a little bit better. When you need to understand how to change things and be a person who adapts to change better, we could put this person in that rotational role to be able to help them understand that. So it's a lot of ways that AI allows the individual to get better, even though they sometimes may not know that AI has had a hand in it.
Absolutely. I think there's so many ways that we can leverage this on so many tiers of an organization, which is really exciting. And technology is changing so quickly. So I think, as Lucinda mentioned, having that trusted partner to help navigate and to help, answer questions. And, this is a little plug for our Q&A session next week. Having those chances to unpack your own challenges that are specific to your culture, your organization, your goals, and identifying the right solutions out there. Because there is so much, and sometimes it takes just taking one step to start there and then exploring all the other options. Because, sometimes I know for me, it can be kind of overwhelming of, well, where do we start? I want to do all the things. Sometimes it starts with one step and one conversation. And that's really the hope of these roundtable conversations, as well as our Q&A series that will be kicking off next week. But I'd love to dive a little bit deeper. We've been talking clearly about personalized development and the opportunity of AI to help invest in our people, develop a learning culture. But I'd love to kind of unpack a little bit more about, why is a learning culture important today, and what role does AI play? I know you guys have mentioned some examples, but would love to just kind of go a little bit deeper into the whole cultivating a learning culture and why that's important and how AI can help.
Lucinda?
Well, I think, first of all, I want to talk about it in kind of more from an AI perspective too, and overall kind of ongoing culture of continuous learning. But I think just initially getting comfortable even using AI is becoming a very important skill. And we need, as professionals, as employers, we need to promote our folks having up-to-date skills. And that's, just a matter of the culture, that folks work in. But when we prioritize AI in an organization and our people are encouraged to take part in ongoing learning, it's going to really help spark creative ideas and really support more responsibility and accountability in AI decision making across the business. So I think that's one thing as companies are getting into this that they need to really think of, as a premise. Because we've worked with machines for a long, long time. But being an effective leader and a user of artificial intelligence takes a wide range of skills and activities. So I like to approach this from the perspective of a learning culture has always been important. And the companies that are successful have always promoted this for many, many years. And as we've gotten into this era that we're in now of business. But it's going to shift now, I think, with cultivating this AI learning culture. Because with AI, if you stand still with it, you're going to be left behind. So I think organizations really need to look at maturing and maintaining the right skills to guide enterprise AR and really make that a priority. And then, establish the importance of these up-to-date skills across the workforce and create opportunities to help these AI stakeholders in the organization acquire those skills. So I think there's going to be a retooling of, a learning culture is important. It's always been important for the companies that prioritize it and value it, but we're going to need to inject this AI dimension into it more and more.
Yeah, I would agree, Lucinda. In addition, as the culture is being built to embrace more AI, there's a certain risk reward with that, right? And that culture has got to really reward individuals for taking that quote unquote risk, and of course mitigating that risk with the understanding of what's allowed, what's not allowed. That's important. So if I'm allowed to be a little bit more granular, one of the elephants on the table when it comes to AI is always the ethical piece, and that piece where because these are machines, right? And machines are actually programmed by fellows with compassion and vision, we would hope. And the thought is that when you apply compassion, vision, empathy, all those human skills that machines wouldn't have, then it allows us as learners and users to actually utilize something that augments what we can do and what we do best from an organizational perspective and really take us to another level. But there's got to be some recognition that every decision won't be the best decision, especially up front.
Yeah.
And so when that happens, then the culture is such that, you won't get your you won't be kicked out of the metaphorical room because you made a decision that was not 100% spot on. Is that what can we learn from the decision you made using AI? And how can you then examine that and look at the strengths from that, not just the weaknesses of whatever that decision was, to provide a better decision path going forward. And so that's an adaptive learning process, I guess, if you were to put it into certain words or categories. But there's also knowledge sharing, because there's individuals who are actually doing this and have had conversations with their immediate bosses or, with the board in an organization and saying, look, we really are interested in moving this to the next level. What do we need to do? Well, there's going to be a process, and it doesn't matter what it is. There's always a process, and there's steps to be taken, and AI can help facilitate those steps, and also can help you to not make the same mistakes twice. And when you're learning and trying to put your organization together and position it in such a way where you're attracting talent, because people are looking at you saying, hey, not only are these folks on the leading edge, but they recognize you can't always get it right. But in the meantime, they're learning so much more than they ever could have by sitting on the sideline waiting to get it right. And so AI is a facilitator in the ability to iteratively learn what needs to happen next. I guess is the point I'm trying to make.
Yep. No, I totally agree. And I think when you started off on your comments about this, it made me think of another kind of myth and misconception that I wanted to mention. And it's that AI, sorry, I think that's the noise in the background here. Sorry about that. I think that the misconception is that AI is inherently biased and that people need to avoid it. So run at all costs. But I think we had to learn at some point that not everything we see on the internet is true. And that has to also do with AI. But we just need to learn about it. We need to learn about the biases and we need to learn the shortcomings and then learn the strengths and figure out how to leverage those strengths in our lives and in our organizations. But I wanted to mention that because I think that really tied into not what you started mentioning here.
Yeah, I love you for I love the fact that you brought that up, and so there's two pieces to that too. I think AI needs to learn us too, because the way we look at things will get better over time, but it still needs to understand where we are today and what we know. So crunching data is important, but also the way we look at things and the way we draw insights from it, and the way we can learn from it. In addition, is the fact that AI learns from us.
Yeah, and the more that you utilize it, the more that you train it on what you are looking for, what you are wanting it to do, more about your brand, your culture, your goals. That also helps to strengthen the outcomes of it. And it made me think as you were both talking. When I was first introduced to AI, it was through a one-on-one training with my senior manager. And, we've also had other people in my organizations that have brought new technologies to the forefront. So I think it goes both ways. And I think you both mentioned it of not being afraid to explore the possibilities, but also, going in, recognizing that it's a tool and how can we leverage it. But knowing that there's so many, the technology, it's changing so fast. And so we really need to be open and be engaging trusted partners to help us navigate these things. And, how do I create a training for my team who maybe has some hesitations or misconceptions around AI? Well, there's trusted partners that can come alongside you and help do that, or how do I navigate which of these technologies is best for my organization? Well, there's partners and ways that you can help navigate that to find the best one so that you don't have to be in the AI space all by yourself if this is new to you, because it can be overwhelming, but it is about finding those partners, being open to conversations, investigating as your team and others, highlight different opportunities, but you don't have to be alone in this conversation, which I think is more and more empowering, especially if you're new to the conversation.
Yeah, Kristen, absolutely. I think, some organizations have created kind of subject matter experts, either internally or they use them externally as partners. And these are folks who have a deep understanding of how AI works and also its potential and its limitations. But I think organizations would be well served if they created really regular opportunities for their AI stakeholders to share knowledge about what they're doing, like internal workshops or presentations, and then capture that knowledge and information to share across the organization. So it's, in summaries or recordings like this or other media that can continuously upskill employees about this too. I think this continuous learning in an organization as part of a culture, but continuous learning about AI is going to be, super, super important and valued in organizations as we move forward.
Yeah, that is fantastic, Lucinda and Kristen. And I'll tell you that when it comes to the rank and file, as it were, they have misconceptions about AI simply because the people at the top, the leadership team, hasn't developed a sort of a strategic approach to communicating what's going on. the folks who are actually doing the work today that may be replaced tomorrow by AI, they want to get prepared too. So whatever that is and however that looks, that you're able to, as a leadership team, you're able to communicate what's going on and how the organization is growing, and how things will be able to how the deck chairs will be rearranged so that nobody has to leave, et cetera, whatever that would happen to be, is important, because a lot of the anxiety that comes along with being in an organization at a level where AI may or may not affect bits and pieces of what a person does every day is not understanding what's going on. They, and nobody's talking to them, and they're not in these conversations. So, figuring out a strategy, no question, Cultify helps organizations with that as well, but figuring out a strategy to communicate and make sure everyone's on the same page only gets all of the emotional energy focused in the right direction.
Yeah, it comes back to trust, right? And we talked about this maybe a month ago in one of our series of just, if I see my leadership being open about this, unpacking some of the misconceptions, empowering me to utilize it in a way that makes me more productive and prepares me for the future, that develops trust in my leaders and my organization, and I want to stick around. But if there's distrust, I'm afraid I'm going to be replaced, then maybe I'm looking for other opportunities before that happens. So I think even from a strategic level, there's so much importance about being proactive and being ahead of this, right? And putting these conversations on the table to talk about, because I think there's so much opportunity to really, show that we are a future forward organization. We're going to be here for the long haul because we are leveraging technology in a way that aligns with our mission, vision, values, and in a way that's unique to our culture. And I think that can be very powerful.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, leaders need to encourage the workforce to keep up with AI as it relates to their professional role. I think they should even really reward for that. And I think that, that will help employees feel so much better about the situation. Provide them training opportunities, upskilling opportunities, reward them, weave these AI goals into, KPIs and individual goals. And then folks will gain a greater awareness of the kinds of skills that they need for their work and how their work is changing or is going to change. But transparency and trust is so important in this whole process.
Agreed. And it's interesting that, when organizations need to do whatever they need to do to make certain they've got the right people there on board to, retain talent, et cetera, sometimes you let people go or move people around to different areas in your organization, and sometimes you don't move the right people in some of these things. And so again, finding talent that's right there in your organization, hidden in plain sight, is really something that organizations, most of the time, they miss out on. And the very people that you need to be able to help you move your organization forward in this age of AI can be sitting right in the chairs that you may be downsizing. So that communication becomes even more important in making sure you understand who actually occupies the chairs that are in your organization, the metaphorical chairs, because of course we're virtual these days a lot.
Yeah, Dr. Miles, it reminds me of at Cultify, we talk a lot about the personal culture strategy, and it's about helping our people create profiles that highlight their professional skills, but also their life experiences. So maybe there's a technical skill set that they have that has nothing to do with the current role that they're in, but could be a huge value add for a future role or opportunity. And by hiring internally, you get somebody with already knowledge of the culture, the brand, the company, versus hiring externally. And sometimes we don't know those things, but AI can really help to highlight those from a leadership perspective and to find those folks that are hidden in plain sight, as you said, to really move the organization forward.
Exactly.
Well, as we're wrapping up our time, I'd love to just think future forward picture. Any last minute comments or ideas about emerging trends in AI or anything that you wanted to mention that we hadn't had a chance to talk about as we are wrapping up our time together?
I've got one that I just recently have been reading about, and it's really kind of fascinating. um, it's the idea of artificial intimacy and AI learning about, your preferences and your likes. There's actually a Brene Brown podcast about this. And it has implications with individuals using AI on a one-to-one basis. But I believe it's also going to have implications in the workplace. So what they're saying is, in most new discoveries about human behavior is going to be made by machine learning algorithms rather than in the past they've been made by social scientists. And that these discoveries, we may not even be able to, as human researchers, not resources, but as human researchers, interpret those. But these discoveries by machine learning are going to be very useful for the machines, but then also for their owners who might be corporations. So what it's telling us is there will be kind of a greater level of artificial intimacy with customers, with employees, and that these machines will get better and better serving up to us what we want, what we think we want, and what advertisers want us to want. So this, I think, can translate into employers better serving what employees want. Going back to that, my assistant, I mean, it's going to become really smart. But I think these changes will eventually impact the areas of training and hiring and team building, and also creating a sense of community in an organization. So it kind of sounds kind of out there and weird about artificial intimacy, but it's really there, and it's going to become more and more involved and more a part of, I think, how we live our daily lives.
Well, I tell you, Lucinda, I don't know how to follow that up. To be honest with you, that's incredible.
Go check it out there.
Yeah, that's my newest to do. The thing that I would end up with, Kristen, is really more of a clarion call toward the transparency and the ethics that go into AI. And I've seen it listed as explainable AI, where they focus on making this black box, this whole the nature of the AI algorithms, et cetera, make that more understandable and transparent to us from the perspective of those who are making the decisions to utilize whatever they're utilizing, whatever these algorithms are, to get to whatever decisions they want to have made. And so it reminds me that really in years ago, they were using, I forget the name of the company, but the company decided they want to take a stab at using AI. And they said, well, we're just going to use some of the old requirements and I guess requirements is the best word, to be able to hire people, because we think that the way we hired people in the tech world years ago was fantastic. Well, what they learned was that this was biased toward men, because in the tech field there were lots of men, and so it would really kind of scrub for, or really flag, or kind of push away some of the more feminine words in a resume, or feminine words in the background. And so again, being able to explain why and how and whatever the thinking goes into these algorithms is that part of the transparency that really helps to lower the temperature on the uptake of AI, which is, in my opinion, only helps us to move faster.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think there's so much more to this topic, which is why we're only scratching the surface today and kicking off our Fused Intelligence series. So, please come back as we dig into all of this so much more. But thank you both, Dr. Miles and Lucinda, for helping us kind of set the foundation and give us a good sense of what's out there, what are the hesitations, and how do we really just take advantage of this to enhance our culture and empower our people. And, we talked a lot just about some of the challenges and the opportunities of leveraging AI and fused intelligence. And so I want to share a few solutions that Cultrify does offer in helping navigate some of these things as well that we mentioned. So we talked a lot about tailored recommendations and the opportunity for AI to help from a strategy level. Well, at Cultrify, we do help organizations leverage AI for tailored recommendations that align with their organizational goals. And it powers from as we said, from the leadership level. What steps do we need to take? What are some actionable steps that we can take to move the needle? But also on the individual level, right, of personalized career paths. So here are some recommendations for what is a potential career path or career map, I think, as Lucinda said. So that really helps you really invest in your people, have them there for the long haul because you're helping to upskill them as well. And you're able to empower them with recommendations based on the career path and based on those goals that they have. So for example, if somebody is saying, this is my career goal, AI can then recommend a mentor match within the organization and say, based on your career trajectory, based on where you are in your career, why don't you connect with this senior leader who is open to mentorship? So being able to make those connections and really empower the managers on your teams is really, really powerful. And then, we talked a lot about skilling, right? How do we prepare our people for the future? Well, AI can really help with recommending specific learning and development courses that would align with their career goal. So I don't know about you guys, but if you have a huge learning and development course catalog, sometimes it can just be a hassle to find out the right course for the right person. Especially for managers, it can be overwhelming. So AI can kind of take the hassle out of that by saying this would be a great course that will help you enhance your skill or develop a new skill that would be great for your career path. And then, of course, connecting events with some of the big organizations or with a hybrid team. You may not always know what opportunities are around in your organization. And so being able to say, there's this event that is going to be specifically what you are looking for to develop. It's going to be a connection opportunity or a training opportunity. Being able to highlight those events is also hugely impactful and just really helps with that career development that we were talking about. And then finally, Lucinda, I'm so glad that you mentioned the power of AI to really learn behavior, because especially when it comes to creating campaigns that are targeting your ideal candidate, when it comes to recruitment, leveraging AI algorithms that can really analyze online behavior, actions, interests, channels, it can really help make your recruitment campaigns so much more effective by matching your campaign with your ideal audience at the right place, the right time online. So all of this, at the end of the day, leveraging AI really helps you harness the power of fused intelligence and impact your organizational culture and really just improve your business success. And so at Cultrify, we want to be available to help you guys navigate and know how to do that in your specific circumstances. So, but again, thank you guys so much, Dr. Miles, Lucinda. Thank you both for being here today. We're going to drop your contact information in the chat so that those can connect with you. But thank you both for your time and sharing your insights and experiences with us today.
Thank you for the invite. That has been fantastic.
Yep. Thanks so much. Really enjoyed it. Look forward to the next one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of the next one, so coming up, we are here again next Thursday, April 11th at 11 a.m. Eastern for our very first Q&AI session. And this will be looking at amplifying culture with AI. So bring your questions, bring your concerns, bring your specific challenges and your organization. And together, let's explore how you can leverage fused intelligence to make a difference in your organization, transforming cultures, empowering your people, and improving overall business success. So we're really excited about that. So please be sure to register. We went ahead and dropped the registration in the chat. So please share that with your team and come. We're excited about that conversation. And that's all I have for you guys today. We will see you guys next time. And thank you so much for helping us kick off our new series, Fused Intelligence. We'll see you next time.